Hey everyone, checking us out at home. I'm Benj. This is What Could Be Bad. I'm super honored to be here at the Shakedown Bar with Scott Rednor. Welcome.
Great to be here with you.
Yeah, you should say welcome to me. It's your
Welcome.
place. Yeah, I think I put my foot in my mouth already. I love it. I'm very familiar with being on stages, usually playing the bass, but doing more and more podcasts and doing them live. It's great to connect with you. You have such a rich history in the music industry, and I think it's an opportunity for me to discuss a lot of things that are in my heart and in my mind. And so I'm really grateful that we could sit down.
We've been waiting months.
I know. We've been talking on the phone and just getting to know one another. And it's been a real pleasure to connect with you and especially like finally get to do this. I'd like to know, your early history with music. What really was the attraction? What was the feeling that got you into it? And, how did you take that and look forward in your life and say, this is something I want to be a big part of my life?
School.
Yeah.
Let me just say that school isn't for everyone.
Yeah.
I'll start at the age of 4. I wasn't so sure about school at that point. I was there, I was going, it's what you do.
Yeah.
My mother was like, you got to play an instrument, and I was, the violin was this Suzuki violin program, which I blamed for my path,
Okay.
because I had a great teacher in kindergarten, and we developed a relationship, and I started playing like in the mall with little groups, between 4 and 8 years old. And
we didn't talk about this. I had no idea you started with violin.
Yeah, yep. I always say that vibration, the vibration of the music resonates with your soul, and I feel like that seed was planted at a young age. After I ventured through the violin, and then of course as a silly kid you get bored with stuff, and I was like, I want something else, and I was like the clarinet, and fortunately my elementary school had band and orchestra and ensembles and all of the things that we're not really finding in schools these days.
Yeah.
I mean, we're so lucky at the public school. It was such a big part of that. And of course the church stuff as a kid, I went to church as a kid and did the Sunday school thing and ended up singing in the choir there. But in my school, the next instrument was the clarinet, the lucky clarinet.
Yeah.
Got to take that one down, where I'd sit third chair and pretend. I
love that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about the woodwinds, So
Those are hard instruments. To
and
master.
It just wasn't my jam. I was like, no. I'm like starting to get into rock and roll, and the clarinet is not your train ticket. Dixieland jazz, perhaps. Then I went to the cello, and I was like back to the stringed instrument, right? And I was like, I really love the sound of this. And then in 6th grade, I got my first guitar, and then was obsessed.
Yeah. Did you take lessons?
I did. I took lessons at Lou Corda's House of Music from Lou himself.
I love that. He was like the local guy who was
the
teaching
local guy
all the
at the
kids.
store that funny enough, years later when my band was like, we're ready to hit the road, we went back to Lou, and it was just like the Blues Brothers. We're going to need some gear, Lou.
Yeah, I love that. Totally. One of my favorite movies.
And he just wrote a ticket out, and he just said, stop in and make payments. And he handed us a whole PA system.
That's incredible.
And away we went, and we paid him off, over all those years. But, this was 12 years after I had started taking lessons from
Sure. It took time to get to the point where you're actually like leaving
Yeah,
home
I went to high
shows?
school, and then went to college, and then came back,
And so then, like, at what point did you start playing shows like live with
the 7th grade dance.
You did the 7th grade dance for the first time?
Yeah, you have to take the gigs you can get.
Yeah, you do. I've been there for those kinds of things.
What a treasure.
Yeah.
I still remember it. I remember we must have been so bad.
Well, at that point, I think it's exciting just to like get up on a stage and whatever you've got.
Yeah, we're going for it. Whatever it takes, man. You get the gig, you play the gig.
Do you remember what songs you did?
I can definitely say there was Purple Haze in there.
Sweet.
There was definitely a Sympathy for the Devil.
Okay.
Dear Mr. Fantasy.
I'm impressed that you remembered at least 3 songs because that's so far
there's
back.
Definitely
That's fantastic.
More. There's definitely like Bob Dylan, When I Paint My Masterpiece, or something. Just simpler 3-chord songs.
Yeah, the beauty of 3 chords and the
Led
truth.
Zeppelin, Rock and Roll, which we probably murdered.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
It is.
Yeah. So were you lead or were you?
Oh yeah. Well, a
little bit of everything.
Lead.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was
time
coexisting.
Yeah, I think in 7th grade it's like who can play the loudest.
Well, it's just like if you make it to the end of the song, without just having to stop, it was a win.
So you're in 7th grade, you start doing these shows. How did it go? Were you more attracted to the music and it started affecting being able to like pay attention in class? Like how deeply were you attracted to it?
It was always the who's tapping, and I'm like, it's me.
It's me again.
And then of course 3 seconds later I'm tapping again.
Yeah.
Because no one knew to diagnose me with ADHD and whatever else was going on. And
sure. It's hard to pay attention.
it was really hard to pay attention when I had everything else on my mind.
Yeah, totally. So how did you find guys to play with? Were they just like your buddies and everybody got into it at the same time?
All the kids that were into it, you didn't even necessarily have to be any good. We were just like, who wants to play?
Okay.
And we would show up at each other's houses, and it would just be like, okay, similar styles of music we like, and let's just pick a couple of songs and give it a go. And the chemistry, right? It's all about the chemistry. If the chemistry is there,
yes.
Even then, to whatever tiny little extent the chemistry may mean, we both love Pink Floyd, and
totally.
we'd love to get there together.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you just finding those little breadcrumbs that keep you going, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I have memories of getting into music at the same time in my life, and what I recall was like the excitement, the feeling, and then the response of people who would just be there and watch and listen and it was
clap,
like
even if it was just horrible.
Yeah, even if it wasn't so good. Yeah, which happens.
I'm like, God, these guys are nice.
Yeah. So when you were beginning to perform in front of people on stages, did it feel different than anything else you had experienced yet?
Oh, yeah. I mean, once you do your first couple of gigs and like if anything goes well at all, you're just like, you're hooked.
Yeah.
You're just like, I could do this and possibly be on the radio or get to make music and tour the world with my friends. I mean, what's more enticing than that to any kid?
Yeah.
Do you want to be a rock and roller? Do you want to go travel the world? I mean,
I think it's a yes. That's what I thought it was, about it. I was like, this,
and then
this seems great.
Then you grow up and you're like, okay, that's fun as a kid.
Yeah, totally. But the realities of being on the road, it's a very different life that you think you're going to have than like how it feels when you're out there.
It's great when you're in your 20s, right?
Yeah.
And you're single and you're like, you're not to that point where you're like, I've overpartied,
Yep.
And
yeah,
you're just
because you
like,
can't overparty at that age, but then you hit like 30.
I have some friends that were sober by 18.
Oh, okay. Well, so they did. Yeah. I guess I didn't.
But good on them for recognizing it. Who recognizes what's right at 18?
Wise old souls.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when you're in your 20s, it's like, it's just so much fun. The excitement of traveling and a gig and a stage and the gear. Just being obsessed with gear when you're young too. Building your rigs. Totally. Now I'm just like, God, I haven't rebuilt my pedal board in 10 years. I'm like, I clean it every once in a while because it's disgusting.
Yeah.
But you're supposed to be inundated with all of the things, right? If you love what you do, you love everything about what you do.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully. For a lot of people, I think that's the goal. I was speaking to a new friend, Mark, about that. Is as you find something, hopefully it brings you joy and it's meaningful in a deep, fulfilling way. But it's not always that we get to have those things. So if you do, it's a very fortunate thing, and it will.
It's fragile.
Yeah, it can be fragile for sure.
It can be the absolute opposite of that.
Which leads me to navigating a very difficult industry on a business and economic front. How do you deal with being able to sustain that traveling, when you're under stresses that are on the road? For those who haven't toured and gone out there, there's a lot of challenges that you don't expect to find on the road. As wonderful as it is, as beautiful as it is to be with people you care about, to perform, to make people happy, to bring joy to people in the world, it's great. But that part of your day a lot of times is, somewhere from 60 minutes to 120 minutes, and there's a lot more of the day. And usually you have people that you're not with that you love that are somewhere else. And that's a big part of what was very challenging for me navigating the world of live music. And so I wonder, with your experience, and it sounds like we had the same joy and attraction to it. did you have challenges that were like, how am I going to keep doing this? Like, this is, like, how do I keep navigating this industry? Everybody on the road needs to earn something. You can't just go out there and not earn money to pay your bills.
$5 a day is what we got when we started in 1996. We got picked up by Blues Travelers Management, and we asked them, how do we make it? And Bobby Sheehan looked at me, he goes, get in the fucking van. And he meant it. Get in the van. Get in the van and go play every single place, restaurant, whatever. Backyard
patio,
barbecue, graduation, bar mitzvah, any gig that you can play it. Fill the schedule every single day of the month and drive. And route yourself so that one bar mitzvah is not back here when you're headed the other way.
Yeah.
So as a kid, figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? You got to figure it out. How do we do it?
What was the hardest part of doing it back then?
The smokers.
Yeah.
$5 a day doesn't cut it.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, being in a van with if it's cigarette smoke. Yeah. There might have been other types of smoke.
What's the hardest part? Oh God. I mean, as a young band, it was so thrilling to set that PA up that Lou gave us.
Yeah.
In every restaurant, and then just turn that dining experience into a party.
Cool.
Because we were good.
Yeah.
It was like, I knew any place that we went into, we were confident we were going to just light that place on fire. Right? So that drive, knowing that your group is so kick-ass that anywhere you go, it's a power that it's a power that you don't get to feel unless you're in a band. Right? That you can show up with your group people and make music together in a way that you can't just do, right? You can't just do that. You have to earn that.
Yeah, you have to build the repertoire. You have to
Your
build the
skill
chops.
set,
You have to build the unspoken understanding of what somebody else on stage is going to do in the moment.
Yeah,
and it's a feeling as much as it's a thought.
All of those things are the feelings that you wanted to have when you were playing the 7th grade dance.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, I got a taste.
Yeah.
And when you're a kid, what do you want to do for a living? Like, what's the first answer?
Yeah.
Rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
Even movie stars want to play rock and roll.
It's true.
It's just so fun.
And I've found in the career I've had is that other industries athletes want to be rock and rollers, but rock and rollers also want to be athletes. And there's always this grass is greener thing, but there's always an attraction to music. They call it the universal language, and that's for a good reason.
Yep.
Everybody can feel it. Everybody can, get within it.
And it can be different every single time you pick up your instrument.
Amen. Yeah.
You can be stuck in a rut and you can have, have writer's block or whatever the case, this and that, but that's up to you, man.
Yeah.
Because every time that's your mindset, right? You can ignite that in different ways to figure out how to move past that.
Absolutely. I want to talk about writing too, because you write a lot of your own music. When did that begin?
Oh, in college.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Open mic nights are just great. If you don't have a band and you're young, open mic nights are the way to go. It's the way to meet people. It's the way to get the nerves out. It's the way to go play. You find a good open mic night in college and you're
absolutely.
It's a great thing, right? And then, we call them open mic nightmare, because it's the people.
I haven't heard that. That's fantastic.
So this guy Corey's up there and he's, and I walk in, I'm like, probably, kind of a dick. I'm like, can I play your guitar? And he's just like, God damn it. It's the last thing the guy running the open mic wants to hear from the dude who walks in with the hair. And it's not yes.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I guess so.
But
yeah,
don't break a string, because.
Oh, no,
because,
you didn't. You broke more than one?
No, I only broke one.
Okay, only broke. So just so everybody knows, asking to play someone else's guitar on the road is a very touchy subject.
Or finding someone with your guitar in their hands. It's just like, it's like they're holding your kid, right? And they didn't ask.
Yeah.
I've
got a story about that actually. I'm gonna go to it. Is in college I let someone borrow my baby, the bass
kid?
my bass.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have children until 7, 8 years ago. But he borrows the bass, and I was totally cool with it. He was a friend. It was another band. Something happened to his instrument, and they weren't going to be able to play. He wasn't going to be able to play the bass if I didn't let him, because there was no other bass around. So I let him, and this guy smokes a cigarette and puts it at the top of the instrument, like Mick Jagger or Clapton or Keith Richards.
Yeah.
And so Mick Jagger doesn't really play guitar. So anyway, he's playing the song. I'm like, he's just gonna leave it there, isn't he? and he just leaves it.
You're
and it just
watching it.
and I'm watching the song, and it's just going down, like the cigarette's just burning and the smoke, and like he's not trying to get it, and it literally burns my instrument. And it's still on there as like this long dark. And from then on, I was like, never again, like for him especially. But I've been so touchy about it ever since because
What did he say?
I got burned.
What did he say? What?
He said sorry, but I was like, dude,
isn't that
like,
nice?
he just it was like college stuff,
Yeah.
He didn't really care, It was one of those. So needless to say, that's like way in the past, but a funny memory I get to relive with you guys. Thank you for enjoying my story.
Well, so I went into this open mic night thing, and I was like, let me play a song. So he's like, fine, and I break a string, and I got through. I played. I even remember I played "Breaking the Girl" by the Chili Peppers.
Oh, fantastic!
So that night ends, blah blah blah, and I meet this guy Steve, and he's playing banjo, man. And he's like, oh man, we play and sing great together. He's like, I know this guy Corey. He's great, and we should get a band together. And he told Corey, he's like, I met this guy Scott. He's like, I fucking hate that guy. Because you come in and it's oh man. And so eventually he's my best friend now. So all these years later.
The love was developed over time.
Yeah, it was like, I always say, like, your best friend in life is probably not going to be your favorite person when you meet.
Yeah, that's kind of like, and a lot of times for partners,
Yeah.
For my lady, like the first night she thought I was a creep, all this stuff, but
Well, you were peeping in her window.
No, that's a whole other story that it's
He
a
told
great
me that.
story.
No.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Essentially I saw her walking before we actually met, and in my head I said, there goes another beautiful New York girl I'll never talk to. And 6-8 hours later, she shows up with actually the friends whose apartment I had just left, and she was going there. And then we all met in New York City at a bar a little later that night. And immediately I was like, we're supposed to hang out. We're supposed to get to know each other. We're going to date. We're going to have a great time. And she was like, who is this guy? And of course, now we're married and we have children, and I love her and she loves me. Thankfully, the creepiness was short-lived.
Yeah.
And, everything went well from there. That's it can happen where, you grow
I think
up.
that's a beautiful thing about life, where if you meet somebody and you're just like, and then you just put in a few minutes, right? Or an hour or a day or a week or whatever your month is, or, and your paths stick, right? And then Corey and I, we ended up writing great songs together, started my first band, Dear Liza, together. And that's when I wrote my first song in college with him, because he was such a writer. I was like, God, I got to start writing. I need to write a song. So I was like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
So I was like, I had a crush on this girl at the time, and I wrote it about her. It's called Sympathetic Eyes, because she had really soft eyes.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So tell me about what writing does for you. How does that affect you on a regular basis?
I feel like I sort of hacked my way through it in the beginning a little bit. Songwriting is such a craft, such an art, and something that you have to dedicate yourself to.
Yeah.
My last record that I wrote and I released last September, which I'm very proud of, the process for that was some songs some ideas I'd gathered over time,
Sure, yeah.
And then we got the group together, got my guys together, and we just started playing through the ideas, right? And giving my own judgment away, right? Playing through the ideas. What's happening here? Where's the song want to go, right? What's it about?
Yeah.
What's the feeling? What's the vibe? So I literally, it was like an experiment. I just gave myself away, right? And just started singing words that the music made me feel. And some of the songs on the record, I sung top to bottom.
Like first take?
First take,
That's
pretty much.
Fantastic.
Couple of words or lines here and there, but there were some that I had no idea what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And just drop them,
That's incredible.
Yeah. So I feel like my best way to do it is to be in a place where I can give myself away to that, but that doesn't always lend itself to that, it's not my everyday.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not able to be in that place because, I need to make money.
Yeah.
And writing songs these days isn't
not
a long shot to get anything. So that's why we have this place and we're expanding.
That's a real thing for a lot of artists, is that you can't just be an artist. And I think what's really hard about being an artist these days as a young person, which I don't consider myself one of those anymore necessarily, but, is you're not just being the artist, but you have to also, be your own social media manager. You have to promote yourself and market yourself. There's
Booking,
book yourself. And there's a lot of facets
produce,
to what it
engineer.
means. Yeah, and I mean that, like, if you don't learn how to do those and you don't do them for yourself, you have to pay someone else, and those are real costs for them.
Yeah.
You know, and so that is a hard thing to build. What I'm curious about, because I know you had a big shift where there was a time where you were like, maybe music isn't going to be what's in my life for the rest of my life, or I might have to just go and do carpentry and like find a way to support my family in another way. But this fell in your lap. To me, it's a fascinating story, and I think it's important for people to understand why this is such a beautiful gift for you to be a part of this community and deliver live music on a regular basis to everyone.
Yeah, that's a great topic. I mean, getting back to my buddy Corey and Dear Liza back in the day, right? The classic, right? We were a steep rise. I mean, we were crushing it. We were touring. We were just about to embark on a 3-month tour that was going to blow us up. We were in the studio in New York, doing recordings and stuff, and then of course Corey sleeps with the manager's girlfriend, blah blah blah.
No.
We're driving out or heading out on our 3-month tour that we're gonna make it. The engine's literally knocking like it's gonna blow up. Texts are coming in from I'm dropping you guys, this and that, and the entire thing happened at once, where the van blew up and the band blew up.
It was not just a metaphor.
No,
it was
in the same moment. Literally, the motor blew in the van as the band broke up.
Whoa.
Yeah, because I'm dropping you guys. Texts are coming in. Corey's sleeping with Jess. Blah blah blah. This and that. All this stuff. And we were just like, it was over.
That's
right. So
that's
it was
incredible.
over. So in that moment, it's just dreadful. I mean, it's 4 years, 250 shows a year, steep rise. We're cranking. Your dreams are coming true. Everything is coming true that you've been hoping for since you were in 7th grade or whatever.
Yeah.
So literally the build up from all of that. The band happens. We're on tour. We're picked up. It's happening.
I do. Yeah.
And then boom, done. And I was like, holy shit.
Wait, so in that moment, what did that really feel like? Was that
it
was it panic? Was it anxiety? Like
everything you can imagine. Because I was like, now what? At least I'm a carpenter. I was a carpenter already, and I was like, I can build things and I'll survive and I'll always be fine and blah blah blah. But that band was magic, chemistry, all the things. So, and I didn't know any more. I only knew that band, right? So I didn't have all the chops to go be like, oh, I'll just play with this guy because I'm not the virtuoso, whatever. I was in a band.
Sure. Yeah.
I ended up, getting serious with a girl. Was probably the wrong thing to do, at the time, because it was a desperate move. I was feeling I needed something, right?
Yeah.
Again, got engaged and ended up, we're still very close today. Got disengaged,
So no marriage, but
no
you
marriage,
guys,
and we're very, very close. And she's just like, one of the people that knows me better than anyone.
That's good. I think a lot of times like those previous relationships can lead to friendships that are beyond anything because that thing as a non-platonic relationship isn't in your future. It's best not to be.
Well,
so then the friendship
I found
flourishes.
so I was like, okay, I can do this. I don't need the band. I'm a carpenter. I was building furniture for like movie stars and stuff in New York City. I was like doing good. I built a library out in Long Island. Things were easy-ish, but I couldn't write a song. I couldn't come up with anything. I was just depleted.
Yeah.
And found myself crying in my closet.
Oh.
And I came out and I said, I'll never know what I could be if I stay here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because her family was like, live here, sit there, eat this, you'll work here, I'll buy you this wood shop, you'll be great. Blah blah blah.
Which for a lot of people is okay.
I'm a tourist. Like I gotta, I'm born in May. I gotta run. So I told her that.
That's my wife too. So I know you more now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta go do. You get one life to kind of make it all happen. So I said, I don't know what I'll become if I stay with you. I have to leave. So I packed my truck and trailer and I drove across the George Washington Bridge at like 32.
Okay.
I moved back in with my mom into my sister's room.
How come you didn't go in your room?
Because it was in the basement. It was gross.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Just curious.
Yeah, but I did love my bedroom in the basement growing up with the beads and all this stuff,
Uh-huh.
So I moved back in with my mom, and all of a sudden I'm writing. I'm writing immediately. I wrote a record in like 6 months. And
Wow.
I built another library for another guy who was like building libraries and stuff at the time. So then I bought a house in Trenton, an old house. I filled it with instruments, recorded all these songs that I had written.
Yeah.
And some of my best stuff ever, because I was feeling it.
Yeah.
It's amazing how the floodgates opened when I became, sort of vulnerable.
They say that when you have those deepest, strongest emotions, especially ones that are hard to deal with, that's when the work really can come to a new place.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's exactly what happened
It
for
is,
you.
and it was real. I mean, I wrote it all out,
That's
I
awesome.
wrote in a different way that I had ever before. And so I did all that, and I had a construction company. So I was maintaining the dual career, right? As I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do when I grow up, in my 30s. So I had a great construction company, a bunch of great guys, 12 employees. We were wakeboarding all the time on the Delaware River. It was good life and all that. But it was Trenton, and it was just like getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm just like, one of my best friends got shot and killed.
Oh, sorry.
And it was just like, so I started skiing again, right? I was like, I skied every year. I've been skiing since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I started skiing again, coming out here and staying with friends. And I sat in at the Red Lion, and Phil was like, oh, play another.
That was the first place you played here?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
there's a rich history of music there that I want to talk about too. So yesterday, James Kenley, who is the executive director of Vail Symposium, thank you for helping set this up, James. Also Megan McGee-Bonta, who couldn't be here. Appreciate you guys. James and I had a meal at the Red Lion. Sorry to interrupt your story, but I was in there and I was getting a bit of a history lesson of the Red Lion, which I didn't know about before, which James wanted to make sure I knew about because he's smart. It's very pertinent to this conversation. There are pictures in there of, what the Red Lion was when it was just the Red Lion. That was like the only thing here. And literally the only thing here. There's tons of people sitting outside in what is now the covered patio. And it was so cool to see this place bring people together. And he told me the original jukebox was a human being, just learning hundreds of songs so he could play anything that anybody would want to hear. And so this became a thing that people would come for music and come to the Red Lion to have community and to understand each other and what everybody's going through in life, but through the lens of the Valley. And it grew and it changed, and obviously the Valley has changed a lot, but it was a real focal point that helped this place be what it is now. And I think we both have a lot of respect for the history of that. And I want to get to what's happening over there, but I want you to have the opportunity to finish your story, and I'll get back to my side of this.
So, I came out skiing, and Phil was like, hey, what do you do? Blah, 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 this and that. And he ended up getting sick. And he was like, can you cover the gig for me? And I was like, I'm on vacation. I was like, oh, I have my book. I brought my book with my, back then I had no iPads, I had a book.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, can I play your guitar? And he was like,
that old thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
It wasn't a yes. No, it was a yes.
No cigarettes at the top.
So I played the gig, and he sent someone in to spy on me, and the guy's like, he's killing it. And I remember, it was fun. I was just like, I'm on vacation,
you're gonna have a good time with it.
And that's what we did. We had a little party. I was like on vacation, and I'm just singing songs for these people, and it felt natural to me. It felt natural to just be there and having the party, where we're just having conversations about songs and we'll sing them and play them together, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I really felt good doing that. My first experience doing that was at Copper Mountain when I went to college in Leadville when I was 18.
Okay.
And Shannon Town, I was a busboy in the Copper Commons, and because I remember the school thing. I tried.
Didn't work.
It started snowing, and I was like, "There's no way I'm staying in here."
Yeah, you're this close to skiing.
Yeah, I was like, Copper Mountain's right down the road, and I've been reading about it for 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
So I failed out of school that semester, and I went to the Copper Mountain, and I was bussing tables, and I saw Shannon. I was like, "This is great." And then there was Mo Dixon in the front bar. People are hucking cash at him, and he's killing it. And I hear he's like an old pro bump skier, and I'm like, okay.
There's a way to make
I'm
all
like,
this. Yeah.
I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this. So eventually I got the nerve to go up and ask Shannon. I was 18 at the time.
Okay.
19 maybe. And I was like, can I play a couple songs? Can I play your guitar? And he said, yeah, you can.
Love it.
And
Yeah.
he said, come on up here. And I went up and played 3 Dead tunes: Monkey and the Engineer, Deep Ellum Blues, and I don't know.
Not St. Stephen.
No, not Dark Storm.
Yeah.
Anyway, I played 3 Dead tongues. People were like dancing on the tables, and I was like, wow, this is fun.
Yeah.
So I got my little taste of that, and that's what, you know. And then when Phil reintroduced me to that kind of gig, because I wasn't on that gig. I wasn't on the cover tune gig. I was playing original songs with my band, you know, last and blah, blah, blah. So I came out, and eventually he offered me the gig, and I tried it for 2 weeks, and I said no. And I said,
why?
Because I didn't want to play Sweet Home Alabama and American Pie. I just did not want
Yeah.
to do it. It wasn't where I was at. And then I went back to New Jersey, and I was restoring this old home that my mom and I had bought together, and they were going to knock it down, and it was just too nice. So we bought it, and I restored the whole house, sold it to this lovely family. But anyway, I was walking across the job site about a week and a half after I turned the gig down, and I stopped in my tracks, and I looked up, and I heard, "What do you want, dude?" And I'm like, "What do I want? I want to play my guitar and sing. I'm sick of this. Nail bags, cold, you know, every time I stick my hand in, I get a screw stuck in my finger, you know."
Yep.
I was over it.
Yep.
Carrying the sheets of whatever, you know.
Plywood,
Yeah.
like lumber.
All of it.
Okay.
I really enjoy construction. I love building things. But I was like, I want to play guitar and sing. Here's my opportunity.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want this gig. I want the next gig. So if I give myself to this gig, I'll get my chops up and I'll be ready for the next gig.
Smart. Yeah.
So I said, give yourself to the music, it'll get back. And I called him right there. I said, I'll take the gig. So I started packing up my life at that point. 2 weeks here, a week back there for 2 years. Flying back and forth.
That's a beautiful thought. Give yourself to the music and it'll give back.
Yeah,
I
said, now's the time. Someone is offering me this thing I don't want, but I need to take it because something behind it is greater.
Yeah, I think that's an analogy for I feel like any calling, you know, for
Yeah.
somebody who, like my brother's really passionate about software engineering,
Yeah.
but he wants to do it in a way that helps other people, you know, and so there's ways to tie your calling to, you know, to your passion,
Yeah.
to what brings you joy, to what
Sometimes you
gives you
gotta
meaning.
walk through the mud to get to the meadow.
Hey, I like that. That's a very Eagle County comment right there.
Sure
you know?
enough.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, so how did that transfer, or like bring you to like this place?
So
Shakedown?
2 years at the Red Lion, flying back and forth, doing the gig. Holy cow, you know, like never drank so much in my life. You know, that whole gig was just all about partying with the people. And during those years, 10 years ago, it was a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to have made it through that and, you know, understand.
Do you not drink at all anymore?
I drink a little bit.
But not
here and
like-
there.
it's
I
not
took
like
like
a
a year
facet.
off recently. No,
Okay.
I'm just, it's not my friend. I don't like it that much.
Yeah.
But
I know how you feel.
here and there, I'll have
Yeah.
a beer. You like to have a beer with your friends? Or
I do, but the gluten doesn't like me as
I
much
know,
as I like the
I
beer.
hear ya.
Yeah. So what happened
So-
that you acquired this place? is my
So
question.
2 years at the Red Lion, playing the gig, flying back and forth. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready to just pack the trailer and drive it out, right? I'm done there. All my jobs are handed off to employees. I've sold all my tools.
Yeah.
There's tenants in my house. We're out of here. So I packed the trailer up, drive out. And that's when there was some issues with Phil and his wife. There was some relationship issues,
Okay.
I'll just say.
Yeah.
And they let him go from the gig, right? And let me go from half of the gigs I just moved here for, because they were trying to break down the situation that he had built.
Interesting.
Because
Yeah.
he built a thing there that was undeniable.
Yeah.
Right?
He had
So-
his own people coming out.
Always.
and
And Phil did a great job, and we had a great time playing together, and I learned a lot there. And the Red Lion holds a very special place in my heart, right? That year, my third year here, I lost half my gigs. So I was like, now what? I was like, go get more gigs, right? So I walked around town and booked myself 11 shows a week, 7 days a week, 4 doubles.
It's a busy
And I
schedule.
said, someone's going to see me and something's going to happen. And it did. One night at the Red Lion on a Tuesday, a guy came up, tipped me $1,000, and he said, "You rock, man. You need your own place." And I said, "Oh, that's great." And my buddy Bryce was standing next to me, who's my partner here now. And I said, "Hey, this guy said he's going to buy me a bar. You come run it." He's like, "Okay." So
We're in it. Yeah.
here we
That's
are,
amazing.
14 years
Yeah.
later,
Yeah.
where Joel Tucker, a guy, he gave me $1 million We bought the lease to this space for $1 million. Gave me a couple $100,000. I built the whole place out myself, the sound system and everything. And then he started getting sketchy after a couple of years and ended up going to prison.
Oh.
So I bought him out right before he went to prison. And if you want to know about that, it's Netflix, Dirty Money, episode 2.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know there's some background on that.
He gets out at 2030, and I know he's going to come here.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's going to be like, look, you took over the whole building.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least, you know, your partner's ex-security guard. You have some backup if you need it for any reason.
He basically saw in me that I need my own place to run, like he watched Phil running the Red Lion. He's like, this guy can do it. But Joel didn't know anything about my background of like running a business or doing any of that.
Okay.
So there were 3 partners at the time. It was Joel, George, and I. I'm hustling, I'm playing all the time, doing all this stuff, building out. George is like nowhere to be found. And I'm like, what is going on here? What are we doing? Let's get this thing right. We're in the beginning of it.
Yeah.
So it came down to showing up at the Bachelor Gulch Ritz Carlton up there. George and I and Joel having to pick who the partner was going to be.
Oh, wow.
So he ended up giving George a little handful of cash, and he said, let's do this.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's fascinating.
That was in like 2013, and then I bought him out in 2014.
Good for you. And also that comment you made about give yourself to the music and it'll give back is exactly what happened. I think there's a really significant relationship that people have to their own energy, and you know, people talk about manifestation and affirmation, and as far as mental health goes, for me, seeing and saying to myself what I want my life to be like has been a big part of occurring the shifts that I think are healthiest and best for me. And so I encourage people to realize that it happens out there. Say what you want.
Say what you want for yourself and your family, and then continue to say it and take the steps to get there. It's not rocket science, right?
Totally.
That's the first thing. Say it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do X. I am going to do X.
So this,
it happens. If you put it out, it'll never happen if you're not putting it out there. That's for sure.
That's definitely for sure. I think it's like it's going to retreat. It's going to get farther away.
You can't play if you don't win.
Yeah.
Or wait, you can't win if you don't play.
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah, exactly. That to me says a lot about who you are, and I want to talk about your relationship to the community, your relationship to Vail, and in my eyes, this place originating through the spirit of music and the spirit of connection because of music. You know, you've become like a steward for this place's relationship to live music. And I know right now, you know, you're doing a lot of expanding, like you're beginning to talk about. Sorry to cut you off, but now
No. It's okay.
You know, the Red Lion is going to disappear, and there's a lot of pushback from the community because of that. But what I find interesting about it is that you are furthering the relationship to live music while something that's been a big part of that.
It's like the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And it's like, you know, like things happen like that in our world a lot. And there's going to be a generation of people who may not know the history of where it came from, but they're going to appreciate that there's a place and a space
and a lineage
and a lineage to that history, even if they don't fully grasp, you know, the depth of it. Yeah. And so being in this position of being that steward, if I can use that term, and seeing and hearing the pushback from people you want to help make happy within your community, what does that feel like?
Oh God, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. I'm pretty good at ignoring noise.
You have to be to play at music venues.
and following the mission. I know we are the community. We are those of us that are building this. We are the community.
Absolutely.
We have children in school here. Bryce and I have spent a collective 35 years in this building. We both worked in the Red Lion and here only, and you know, we're all raising families now, and we've brought artists through. One of the artists that used to play with us just got hired by Dave Matthews Band. You know, there's a new fiddle player.
Awesome.
You know, like, so people from the community are moving through the Red Lion. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that a place that means so much to people has to go away, right? So there's certain things that led to that. The building is in extreme disrepair, so it needs.
Yeah.
Trust me, I'm in the basement and water comes up and down. So it's like I'm constantly fighting it, you know, for a decade plus.
Which makes it hard to actually be able to like know you can continue to provide what you want to provide.
I knew with every flood that my patience would lead me to future opportunity.
Yeah.
I didn't get mad ever. I was just like, this is just what we're dealing with. We've been given a gift to have this real estate next to the gondola in Vail, and I'll deal with it, you know?
That's a lesson in and of itself is, you know, dealing with stress and how do you approach it. And that's like a very stoic approach, is like life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it, you know? And what you just shared.
It's been
really
years of practice.
Yeah. And there'll be years more, I'm sure, especially while you're building what you're building.
Well, you know, we're in it now, you know.
Yeah.
Just to continue to offer the Red Line a little bit more respect, you know, because it's where so many memories have been made. There's so much there, right? There's so much for so many people. That doesn't mean that it gets to exist forever, right?
Yep.
It's just how it is. None of us own the building, and it's none of our doing.
Yeah.
There's finances that need to be sorted out when spending X amount of tens of millions to remodel a building.
Yep.
You know, there's higher end real estate on Bridge Street to make sure that we'll survive, so they don't have to charge us crazy rents, right? We would never survive with rents that could be charged for this space, for any of the other spaces that we'll be taking. We'd never make it.
Yeah,
right?
I understand.
So a building has to offset some of their affordable rents, you know, by doing retail. And it's not high-end retail, just to squash all that. There's no Gucci or any Chanel or anything coming in. And it's not my business to say what it is, because it's the landlord, so I don't want to speak out of turn or any of that. But
sure.
But it's all stuff. You know, we think about what would we want there. We want more restaurants, right? We want more restaurants and bars and cultural experiences, right? I personally don't need more shopping. I don't buy ski suits every year. You know, I like, you know.
I have the same one that I've had for like 6-8 years.
That Navica one piece.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like throwback 80s style. Oh, that's really funny. Yeah. It's just the shell and I layer up underneath and I'm happy.
Hey, t-shirt and a thong.
Yeah.
You're just all set,
I mean,
when you start sweating, you can just, you know, drop the zipper a little bit.
It's an analogy for the podcast title, the thong under the jeans.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the things you don't see behind the person and all that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
It's like the undies. Sorry.
All they're dealing with.
Yeah.
All that they choose to do.
Okay, so what's happening though is that you're actually furthering the relationship to live music ultimately.
Yeah, you know, so there's a lot of people, human beings and change. That's a whole discussion. A lot of people like things as they are and don't want change. Change is inevitable. It's always happening. We all change every moment of the day. Everything is changing around us constantly. The landscape, political structure, you know, finances, our bodies, all the things.
The people around us.
They're all changing.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So everything is changing. So we talk about it, the historic building in Vail, and as I know it, the Red Line people were offered to extend their lease and chose not to, maybe for raised rents or whatever the reason. Whatever it is, it has all led us here. The landlord, Jeff, is a great guy. He's been just an absolute pleasure to deal with the whole time through. I'm super grateful, unbelievably grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah.
And for the opportunity that he would listen to me about my wishes for expanding on the Shakedown empire, where we get to feed the people, feed the community, and feed the artists. And, you know, there's no greed that lives within us here. It's all building a community where employees get good wages, are taken care of, you know, with health insurance and all the things, and trying to build a stronger community, because when my employees succeed and get to buy a house or, you know, get married and start families or all the things, that's the true sign of success.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Everything to me.
Well, you know, you're talking about feeding, you know, the employees, talking about like feeding all these things, but you also have to feed your family. And you know, you also have to feed your soul, is something an uncle of mine says, is like, you have to make sure, you're getting what you need. But like, we've had some conversations about how like things change in life. And as you grow up and you have more responsibilities, humans, you know, in your family, like you have to cover them, you know, and they become the priority over yourself. So running a business that only stays open for 4 or 5 hours of a day is a very big challenge of making the economics
Watch all
work.
the people on the street all day, and then we open at 9.
Yeah.
When they're all gone, I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
How do I, you know? But fortunately, people come. They come. Every night they come.
The power of music, in my mind,
and
is
this
what's
space
doing it.
has
Yeah.
created a lot of memories for the people too over the years, and the jams and the kids. My dad loves these songs, and or all that wonderful introspective familial stuff, right? And my son-daughter got engaged here, but all the stories. We're writing a book about it, actually.
Oh yeah.
We're writing a book about a decade of Shakedown memories. So for the next
awesome.
been doing it for about a year, but maybe another year, collect stories, have people scan a QR code and tell their story, so that we can make like a coffee table book, because it's about more than this. It's about more than the rock show. It's about the experiences and what you take away from it, right?
Absolutely.
Inspiration.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm 100% there with you. I do want to change the subject a little bit, though, because we're talking about family, and I've spent a lot of time in the Vail Valley, and I've done my best to become educated about the challenges that exist here that are unique to this valley, but also a part of a lot of communities that have seasonal natures to the way that the community will work. And in this community, there's a lot of organizations that do amazing work. I'm not going to start naming names. I know I just don't want to leave anybody out, but there's a ton of organizations that are on the ground benefiting people's lives every day, specifically about mental health, because the challenge is in a place that have seasonal people visiting and employment, and the ebb and flow of that can, lead to a lot of emotional times in life where those waves are really strong. And I'm curious, as a parent, knowing that your kids are growing up in that type of community, are there things that you think about that you try to prepare them for? Are there things that you think about to make them more knowledgeable?
Parenting, boy.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I'm a single parent too. I'm divorced from my wife, my ex-wife.
Okay.
So I have my kids every other week. They're the most important thing in the world to me. They're now 10 and 12.
Okay.
There's challenges. There's a lot expected here about athletics and sports performance and this and that. And my kids are like, they love to ski.
Okay.
But they're not racers. They don't want that. They're like chillers. They do well in school. They like to hang out. There's no devices at my house.
That's a big thing.
I don't do
That's
that.
great.
I don't do that at all. I don't even entertain the idea of it.
Okay.
It's not even a conversation.
So how does that go with them?
They don't ask.
They know that dad won't allow it?
They don't ask.
Now,
I've gone to all lengths to prevent that damage from happening.
I mean, I respect that a lot. I think we're learning in real time, unfortunately, about some of the dangers of that. And so parents that will pull back from giving them more of that, I think is a very important part of setting the tone.
I'm just intolerant completely. It's not even a conversation.
Yeah, good. I mean,
but so then there's the other thing. It's like, I don't deny them watching Netflix or TV or whatever. Everyone needs downtime. It's not like I'm some crazy dad. I just won't do that. I'm like, get on the skateboard, go outside, get on your bike, take the dog for a walk, go out in the woods. Let's go down to the creek, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything. I got them go-karts and little dirt bikes and all this stuff.
Yeah.
To go play in the dirt.
Okay. Yeah, totally.
I don't know. It's a wild place to raise your kids. I grew up in New Jersey and went to public school where they had a big, giant school, 800 kids. It's probably small compared to a lot of public schools.
Sure.
But, we had all the sports and all this stuff and all the things, and we were just busy. My mom never got home from work until 5:30 at night, so we would just go home on our own and
I think there's a lot to learn about the effects of like this kind of an environment to grow up as a kid. And
it's not a lot of independence here.
Well, it's very I feel every time I'm here, I feel like it's a very tight knit community.
It is.
Everybody knows each other, and that's a good thing.
I mean, we used to get on our bikes and ride to other towns, 25 minutes away, and we'd be gone in the morning and we'd come home at dark, and it was like no phone, no nothing. You just did that. Independence.
Yeah.
Like
giving them confidence to be independent and also to be themselves without I think part of the problem with tablets and phones and all this stuff is just you're comparing yourselves to these examples that like you're not seeing the full gamut of what someone's life is like. You're seeing blips, and a lot of that is going to be like the really good stuff.
You know, we've all been lost in the scroll, and the next
Yeah.
thing you know, 45 minutes or an hour goes by, and you're just
Yeah.
like, what have I done with myself?
Yeah.
This is just shameful.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like then you're creaky because you've been leaning, just scrolling. You know, it's like we've all done it.
Yeah.
July.
Yeah. I just want to say how happy I am to see someone who's so passionate about music, who has been able to create a place that is theirs, that they can also have music in their life on a regular basis without leaving home. I think that's a huge challenge for musicians, and growth and economics. They have to work, you know, or things don't, unless somehow you can find a way to do everything as a nonprofit. But even that is a very challenging endeavor. So I'm really happy that I can have this conversation with you where it's happening and where it's like growing out of for you. Your openness, your candor, your articulate nature of like your experience is really valuable to me, and I'm sure it'll be to others as well. And so I'm really honored and privileged to get to do this with you. Thank you, Scott, and thank you everybody for listening. I could go on for hours with my questions. So if you guys want to ask anything, we are all ears, and we will respond. Does anybody have anything they're curious about?
Hi, thank you very much. I raised a child mainly here in the Valley who's ended up being a musician, composer, and back east in New York thriving, but it was an uphill battle. There was sports in the picture too, and I'm just wondering if you've thought about how to raise the value of the arts in, you know, besides in the school environment, that could be it too, but how to make it cool to do all the arts as much as it is to do the sports, because I felt pretty lonely pushing that Sisyphusian, did I get that? Boulder up, but it took, and there she sits now. And I do have to say that Suzuki was a huge part of it.
Well, first, congrats to you
Yeah.
for raising a musician in this valley, because that's a tall order. I'm sure there was a lot of trips to Denver. Yeah,
there you go.
One good trip. During COVID, we started the Mr. Anonymous Philanthropic Society. We did a lot of youth education. We worked with artists that were already established and helping them to create content for them. We raised like $800,000 during that time, turned this place into a recording studio, and would pay artists to come in and record their songs. And then we'd put it out for them to help make maps more well-known, as well as help the artist, right? So we'd give them money and content. And then we ventured into the Youth Music Showcase, where we brought a bunch of kids in and some big rock stars too to help us teach them for 2 days. And then the winner got to record a song with us and release it. So that was a wonderful program. That has since disbanded since COVID ended. And then last summer, we started another nonprofit called Good Music for a Good Mind, Davey Gorsuch and I. And we threw a concert in October of last year, our first show. We're trying to get one for this fall as well, but things are moving really fast. But that is about bringing mental health awareness and music together so that everyone in the community can become aware of all the resources. Those shows are about bringing the community together and then bringing in all the resources for mental health that people can then just walk and talk to all of those folks. And they don't have to seek them out on their own time or try and figure it out on their own, which is another tall task. So we hope to do that again too, in which we'll, again, just unite the resources with the needs. As far as music education in the Valley, oh Lord, we need a giant donation and a big building. Because my dream for MAPS was, I always thought down by Wolcott would be great at that exit, like a whole music foundation program for all the kids in the Valley, a nice middle point, maybe a little amphitheater there for shows or something. But it takes a great deal more than I have, and time, all this stuff. But if anyone knows anyone that's interested in helping to put something like that together, I'd be more than interested in driving the ship.
Next question comes from our online audience. What are your desert island songs?
Oh, like if we were on a desert island and we couldn't bring any music with us, or we could only bring like 1 or 2 songs, is that what you mean?
Now that you mentioned that, I think that makes more sense. I wasn't sure if Desert Island was a band, but let's go if you were abandoned on an island. What are your Desert Island songs?
I love that.
CDs,
Yeah,
vinyls.
totally. That's hilarious. Yeah.
I like Coconut Jim.
As long as there's coconuts, we'll be fine. For me, music-wise, what songs? There's an artist, I don't know if you guys know Ryan Adams, and there's this one song, La Cienega Just Smiled, that I could just listen to over and over. It's like a hypnotic thing for me, and it's very calming. And I love that song. And it's one of those songs that still hasn't gotten old whenever I go back to it. That'd probably be one. But also, like, if I'm on an island, I guess I want some Bob Marley on. Like, I want to hear jamming. I want to hear some, like, happy stuff like that.
Got to have Kaya now?
You got to have Kaya. Hopefully there's Kaya on the island. Yeah. What about you, Scott?
Oh, geez. Pink Floyd is the first thing that comes to mind because I love David Gilmour with a passion. And
Yeah.
Animals is my favorite record of all time. The song Dogs. David Gilmour on an Island.
Yeah.
That album is incredible. I think that's why he wrote that. In the same vein, Alan Parsons, Time.
Oh.
Floating like a river. That's a great
Yeah, totally.
On and on.
I feel like he's not as appreciated as he should be.
He was the engineer on Dark Side.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sweet. Good question, too.
Yeah.
Brought out some...
there's so much.
I'm thinking, like, well, what if I was lucky enough to have an iPad? Like, do I get a live DVD or something like that, or a live concert film that I can watch over and over? You said that Pink Floyd, and it made me remember. I just saw the Live at Pompeii in IMAX, and oh my God, that was such a fantastic thing to experience. Yeah, in IMAX, just like bigger than life. And if anybody
Live at Pompeii is incredible.
It's basically like they went and the whole place is empty, and it's the cinematography in it is as beautiful as the music.
And it's a lot of behind the scenes. If you're into Pink Floyd, it's a lot of behind the scenes right before they made Dark Side of the Moon. So there's clips where you can hear them experimenting with sounds, and it becomes all the stuff that we know and love.
Yeah.
Just really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then watching them eat, after their sessions.
Yeah.
Talk about, I like a slice of pie, please.
Yeah, totally.
I'll get a glass of milk.
Yeah. It's like the human aspect of being like needing nourishment after a rockin'
and
concert.
those gods, those guys.
Yeah.
Another thing about like bands like that, when you're a kid, the mystery behind the songs. What the hell makes that song Shine on You Crazy Diamond the way it is? All the parts, right? All the parts that are involved. And then like you start to grow up as a player and you start to learn the parts, and it's almost like you're cheating. Like you're like, I shouldn't know this because it's going to destroy the mystery, right?
Totally. All right. You got one more? Joe's got a question.
More for Scott because of what you said, but I think Benj, you might have some stuff to say on this too. Is Scott, you described like your band breaking up. You broke up with a fiance. You got divorced. You went through these huge life events. You seem like an incredibly positive guy in spite of like the Red Lion kicking you out of all your gigs you had with them all winter.
Solutions.
Yeah. Where do you find your resilience? How do you deal with that?
Oh man, just the children. They make it easy. That's for sure. The kids need you, and they need you at your best, right? So there's one. You get one life to go get what you want, right? And we don't have much time to waste. And I just feel like I've got a mission. I went and I toured every crappy room in the country and every crappy deal everywhere, and slept in the worst hotels, and the whole deal.
Oh yeah.
And you figure out what everyone's doing wrong, right? I always just notice what are all these people doing wrong, right? Why is music dying in these smaller venues? What's going on? And figuring that stuff out, and solutions, right? Solutions, just coming up with solutions to the problems is kind of like where I thrive, I'd say.
I love that. I think also, just to add to it, is our bodies, our minds, I think, have a propensity towards healing, and that's something we're innately given. However, when life really delivers true curveballs and things that are extremely challenging, I think developing a sense of purpose for what comes next, that you need that resilience for. Like, you can look past the resilience to, what am I doing this for? And like you're saying, like with the children, for me, when I went through some of my hardest times, I dedicated myself to getting through it for my kid, and just taking it away from myself and putting it like I need to be there for him. I need to figure this out for him. That was really helpful for me.
And it is for you. We want to show up and be our best for the kids all the time. So it takes work inside when you're going through that stuff. And I'll admit failure. I went on a Disney cruise a couple of months ago, and oh my God, I did the worst. It was me, my girlfriend, her 7-year-old son, and my 2 daughters in one little room. Mind you, kids were crapping in the pool every hour, and there was more kids than water, and then the giant place of shrimp. It was just like I didn't do well there.
I find it so odd that they call it a cruise, because it's not like, I don't feel like I'm cruising. I feel like I'm avoiding things within the boat. Like
I tell you what, I found myself on the balcony.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah, not feeling so great.
They say they'll get me.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's really.
But
good.
I found in those moments, I'm like, you got to get together, man, because you brought your kids on the Disney cruise. So that was a recent challenge I faced.
It's for them, yeah, totally.
and a big one. That was a big one.
Yeah.
It was not a fun place to be.
I've got a buddy who he runs a nonprofit, and he has very big goals for it, and he's been very successful with social entrepreneurship. In the past, he's on this season's episodes. His name's John Wood. The organization is Hugo University. It's one of the organizations that I'm on a board for, and we send women to college in low-income countries. And John says that he has a responsibility that these young women don't need him to wake up and have a bad day. They need the best from him because he can help change their lives. And so his motivation is, other people. And to the point is, like, I think when you have a purpose bigger than yourself, that can give you resilience.
And, and I don't want to discount like my staff, right?
Sure.
Because I would think if I were them, I'd be looking at me going, I've been working for you for a long time. What are you doing for me? Right? What are you doing for me now? Right? Because that's a real question that they should ask. I give you my time. You pay me a fair wage, and we have a good time and do our things. But I'm continuing to dedicate myself to you. And what are you doing for us?
Yeah.
So what am I doing?
Yeah.
This is why I'm doing this, right?
Totally.
So that I can move people into higher paying positions, maybe get them daytime work instead of nighttime work if they want it. The ability to do it, it's all of those responsibilities are on us as parents, as bosses or whatever, right? Because there's people that rely on us.
Amen. And I think music is healing. And if you look at it from the perspective that the people who keep this place going need to be able to grow their own thing, especially in such a climate. You can't
ignore anybody.
Yeah, well, there's such a climate of inflation and those things, and so it's challenging, I think, to not see growth ahead of you for your own path, and that's a scary thing. And so to that point, it's great that you recognize that and are seeing that.
It's just a must. I wouldn't be here. We're a team, man. I can't do all this.
Yeah.
With just Shakedown, we got to the point where, I rang my first drink in last year because the bartender was in the weeds, and I was like. It was just me and them, and I was like, you need help. I'm like, show me how to ring a drink in. So, and I had a great time, one-on-one with the customers, different experience than I'd ever had up here where I don't really get to talk to people,
Yeah, you're communicating, but you're not having the same
and it was just funny. They were just like, you've never rung a drink in? I'm like, nope. What can I get you?
That's good. New things. All right, we got a question.
Yes, and by the way, thank you for your time.
Oh, of course.
This has been extremely valuable from my perspective, so thank you. We've talked about mental health.
Yes.
I've heard that. I've heard about resilience. So I'm curious to hear from both of you. What role has gratitude played in your journey? Thinking about today, there's a lot of negativity in the world, a lot of judgment. So I'm curious about how you see the role that gratitude plays.
Enormous, because if you don't recognize what you have, then you can't move forward understanding what you're going to get, right? You know what I'm saying? So the gratitude here for bandmates and for the staff and all of that, it helps to keep everything in line. Yes, we make money and we get to do the things and whatever, but I'm grateful to be able to play songs for people that come here to feel better. I'm grateful to be able to offer jobs. I'm grateful to be able to offer my community, now food and a night out, or whatever I can give within my resources, right? Gratitude is the ultimate driver.
Yeah. For me, much the same. When the pandemic hit, I got really sick and I didn't know what it was. And it took months to identify what was going on. And it actually was just the tip of the iceberg of what we figured out. However, figuring out one facet of it led to being able to get me to a better place that, I could kind of like begin to address all the other issues, basically like multiple autoimmune diseases that I deal with and I manage. But I realized during that how lucky I'd had it for so long, and I'd overlooked kind of like the regular practice of gratitude. And I missed a lot of things that I could have been more grateful for. And I think there's, a sense in my life now for where I'm at that I have a tremendous amount to be grateful for, but it's not just being grateful, but dedicating myself to trying to share the lessons and the things that I'm learning and I've learned and all the stuff, to put that back out there in some kind of form, which is this podcast, and share those things. The experiences that I've been lucky enough to have really led me to where, you're seeing me right now. And it's not what I expected when, 20 years ago. And that's a beautiful thing about how life's twists and turns, take you where they take you. And I've seen in people who want others to be grateful to them for something that, they might have done. And that, to me, that you have to be careful about, how your relationship to gratitude is, because I think people can lose themselves in the expectation of what they're doing, that people should be grateful to them for something, and I don't know that is how, I think there's a difference between being grateful and gratitude, right? And that's something I'm very careful about. And I've learned that I've had emotional responses to things of that nature that don't serve me in my life, but I understand that some people see the way to have their relationship with gratitude differently. And that's okay, because everybody should be different. But it's important, I think, to understand, what that is and what your intentions and motivations are of why you're grateful or how you have great gratitude.
Thanks, guys. My question is around in the mental health realm as well. This idea of what we're all lured to, like sex, drugs, rock and roll, like from a young age, and I grew up here, so coming here, as soon as I was like legally able to drink and partying, and then making the shift to finding recovery for substance use, it's pretty lame. Like the opportunity, like it's not attractive when the counselors, when your loved ones are saying you need help, you need to get better. And so sure, taking action, started a nonprofit here that does that, provides the support. But I was invited by you and Davey last year to Good Minds, Good Music. And that was like one of the first things I'd seen that was cool. Like, this mental health stuff is not that cool.
Yeah.
It's getting there, stigma's going away. So I like to ask cool people what they think is going to attract people, so they don't have to just be skittishly going into church basements or like Tony Soprano sneaking in the back door of their therapist.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you see the t-shirts we made for the kids?
Yeah.
Therapy is cool.
Yeah.
That says on the back of the shirt. It's, taking away the stigma of needing mental health help, right? Any help. Everybody needs to talk to somebody. I think that just showing anyone who needs that we're all vulnerable, right? We all have something to talk about. We all have a problem. We've all got something that bugs us. We've all got something that we'd like to work on in ourselves. How open are we to admitting that? It's up to you, right? Nobody likes to be told. Nobody likes to be pointed at. Nobody likes to be forced into a situation that they don't want to be in, especially when there's what you're saying is there's some shame sort of tied to it, where it's so cool to drink, but it's so shameful to have to get help for it. Like that sucks. I hear you there. So I think that we as a community could definitely work more towards taking the stigma away from mental health. And I think this valley is doing a pretty good job at making the efforts to do that. There's definitely an awareness of it. But like you said, we need to take the stigma away. And I don't know how you do it. If you just to share with kids, to be proud, man. Talk about therapy.
I have an idea.
Okay.
I think people need to come together. All the organizations need to be like a coalition. Okay, need to be able to work together. I don't want to go too deep into some of the things that happened when I enacted Mountains and Minds, which was an effort to bring together the organizations in the Valley to have a summit that was multi-layered, multifaceted, to bring together all the different things in a cultural, preventative way of like, here are the resources, here are people in the world who are taking action and doing things, and let's present them. And there were some players in the Valley that torpedoed the effort in a big way. And I think when you have really powerful organizations that want to be the focus for the fundraising and want to have all that, you need them to also realize that all the grassroots work that's being done and all the things that are out there are just as vital as what's there if someone has an absolutely huge problem that leads them to need clinical help. I'm not going to name anyone today, but maybe in part 2. But I found it really disheartening to put something together with a lot of people who really gave a shit, and then have someone have their ego get in the way of that actually being able to really get off the ground, and then have them also kind of put the same thing together and act like they've been doing it the whole time. So you might know who I'm talking about, but I think, banding together, to use a rock and roll slang, is a great way to start, because you're all going for the same goal. Get on the same team. That's what I would say.
My question is more about Vail. I also grew up here, and I think Scott was saying like he doesn't think the kids have as much independence now. And like when I grew up, I feel like we kind of did whatever we wanted.
Awesome.
But I just interested why you think that now.
I'm only speaking through my personal experience with my children and their school and their friends, right? So maybe a little less protection, a little bit more dirt under the nails, a little bit more. I think it's more than the Valley these days. I think it's probably like more helicopter parenting going on all around, because maybe it's necessary. I don't know. I have 2 young girls. Everybody has different experiences with kids, boys, girls, different ages, all the ages, and all the things that they need. I like to drop my kids off at the skating rink and leave them, as dangerous as that sounds. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not there hovering over them, but it gives them a little bit of independence, right? It's nothing in the grand scheme of being independent or, wanting to sail across the ocean alone or whatever. But it's something, right? And like I said, I'm speaking from experience. It's just a lot of sort of helicoptering going on. But I'm glad to hear that you guys were free.
I think we all recognize that in our society we're a lot more divided maybe than we were 10 or 15 years ago, certainly more than 30, 40 years ago. And there's a building culture of fear. And when you have that as a base layer, you're really going to have a hard time trusting the environment. I think a lot of parents are really concerned that giving that independence would lead to something they might regret, or those worst fears might be actualized. And I know as a relatively new parent, I have my own concerns about, where I am in San Diego, there's a lot of talk about people being abducted. There's a lot, not talk, there's actually abductions. And there's concerns about the freedoms that we give our kids. And actually like a less scary thing is e-bikes, okay? There's this huge thing in our area where they're like trying to figure out how to regulate e-bikes. Like I'm driving on like roads that have 40-mile-an-hour speed limits, and there's a kid with no helmet in the lane next to me sitting in the middle, and he's like 10. Okay, so it's happening here too. I just think there's a lot of new concerns that have developed that people don't quite understand how to deal with. And I don't know that I have an answer for it, but I think I see why it's happening. And I think what you need is to keep encouraging strong community. You need to encourage, people to understand that they're safe places, and make sure you're creating and maintaining those safe places if they're not there. And with that will come that bond with the people around you, where you might feel a little different, and maybe that's the path.
I like that answer. I like leaning on community. If your kids know your community and your community knows your kids, everybody's better off. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Listen, everybody, thank you so much for the wonderful questions as well as your time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm grateful for the opportunity. And as I end all my podcasts, I'm going to end this one too. Be good to yourselves and be good to others. Thank you.